Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praises are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the universes. All praises are due to He who is the first, the last, the manifest, the hidden, the one who has power over all things. And may all peace and blessings be upon the seal of the prophethood, the Imam of the messengers, the grandfather of Hassan and Hussein, Sayyidina Maulana Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, and upon his noble family and blessed companions, and all those who follow them until the last day. Ayyuhal mu'minun, O believers, welcome to you on this holy day of Jummah, on this 24th day of the sacred month of Zulqa'dah. And inshallah Rahman, on Wednesday night, inshallah, we will be welcoming the honored guest of the holy month of Zulhijjah. The month of Zulhijjah, it is a tremendous month that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking an oath by its first 10 days in Surah Al-Fajr. And Holy Prophet ﷺ is describing the greatness of this month to us, saying, there are not any days greater, nor any days in which deeds done in them are more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than these 10 days of Zulhijjah. So increase in them the saying of Tahleel, saying La ilaha illallah, and Takbir, Allahu Akbar, and Tahmid, Alhamdulillah. And one of the wives of the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, Rasulullah ﷺ used to fast on the first 9 days of Zulhijjah and the day of Ashura, and 3 days each month, the first Monday of the month and 2 Thursdays. So we should prepare ourselves for this holy month and its first 10 days. This month that is coming, it is the month of Hajj. It is the month of Arafah. It is the month of Qurban. The believers should prepare themselves now and start to get ready. The best preparation we can make in this life, the biggest favor that we can do to ourselves in this life, is to try to become the people of good manners, the people of adab. And adab, it is an endless ocean. However deep you dive into that ocean, you will find more and more treasures. And the master of adab is the Holy Prophet ﷺ. He is saying in his Hadith Sharif, I was not sent except to perfect good manners. And the Sahaba Kiram, they were the ones in whom the manners, they were perfected, because they are a reflection of the light of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. And one of the Sahaba Kiram who had the best and most beautiful manners is a Sahabi whom so many people, they do not speak about. Yet he was so beloved to the Holy Prophet. Holy Prophet ﷺ said about this Sahabi that he would be his special companion in paradise. Holy Prophet ﷺ married 2 of his daughters to this Sahabi, such that he was given the title, the possessor of the 2 lights. And Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying about this companion that from amongst all his Sahabi, this Sahabi's manners were most like the Holy Prophet ﷺ's manners. Who are we speaking about? We are speaking about the 3rd Khalifa of Islam, Hazrat Uthman al-Ghani radiallahu an. Ayyuhal mu'minun, O believers, what do we learn when we look at the life of Hazrat Uthman? What do we see when we look at him? We see a Sahabi who was a Sahabi al-Adab, the master of manners. The Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying in Hadith Sharif that every deen, every religion, every lifestyle has a defining characteristic. The defining characteristic of Islam is haya, is modesty. And Hazrat Uthman radiallahu anh was the most modest of people. Holy Prophet ﷺ said about Hazrat Uthman, Uthman has the most haya in my nation, and he is the most honorable. One time, Holy Prophet ﷺ was sitting in his private room, and a small part of his leg was showing. Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anh asked permission and entered the room, and Holy Prophet remained sitting the same way. Hazrat Umar asked permission and entered. The Holy Prophet remained the same. Then when Hazrat Uthman asked permission to enter the room, Holy Prophet ﷺ put a cloth over his leg. When they asked Holy Prophet about this, he said, Should I not be modest before a man that even the angels they are shy of? Subhanallah. And maybe the most well-known good characteristic of Hazrat Osman is his generosity. Hazrat Osman was so generous that he was given the title of Al-Ghani, the generous one from the heavens. And generosity is one of the parts of adab that is beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying in the Hadith Sharif, a generous man is near Allah, near paradise, near men, and far from hell. But a miser is far from Allah, far from paradise, far from men, and near to hell. Indeed, an ignorant man who is generous is more precious to Allah than a worshipper who is miserly. And Hazrat Osman, he never hesitated to give in the way of Allah. When the Muslims entered Madinatul Munawwarah, there was a drought, and they had almost no water to drink. There was only one well in the whole area, and it was owned by a Jewish person who refused to let the Muslims drink. So Holy Prophet asked, who will purchase this well for the Muslims? And Allah will reward him with a fountain in paradise. Hazrat Osman ran to buy that well, but that Jewish man refused to sell it for a fair price. So just for half a share of that well, Hazrat Osman paid 20,000 dirhams, and he personally gave the Muslims to drink with his own hands. When the Masjid al-Nabawi needed to be expanded, Hazrat Osman ran forward and bought additional land for an expansion. And when the Muslims were going to fight the Byzantine Empire in the Battle of Tabuk, the Muslims were in great need of supplies. Hazrat Osman came forward and gave 1,000 camels, 50 horses, and 1,000 pieces of gold. Holy Prophet ﷺ looked at the heap of gold and declared, whatever Osman does from this day on will do him no harm. But Hazrat Osman was not just generous with money, he was generous with his life, because he gave his life for the sake of Islam. In about 2 months, we're going to remember the sacrifice of Hazrat Hussein in Karbala. We should also remember the sacrifice of Hazrat Osman. Holy Prophet ﷺ, one day he was sitting with Hazrat Osman and he said, Ya Osman, it may be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will clothe you with a jubbah, and that the hypocrites will try to remove it from you. But do not leave it until you meet me. And after Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh was martyred, Hazrat Osman was dressed with that jubbah, the jubbah of Khilafat. He became the third Amirul Mu'minin, and Hazrat Osman did an amazing service for Islam. Hazrat Osman cemented the rule of Islam in North Africa. He spread Islam to Persia, to Afghanistan, to Armenia, to Georgia, to Azerbaijan, to Turkmenistan, all the way to India. Under Hazrat Osman, Islam reached Dagestan and Anatolia. And it was Hazrat Osman who formed the first navy of Islam, and through that Islam entered to Cyprus. And despite the greatness of Hazrat Osman, people made so much fitna. The first fitna in Islam, that they were coming from Egypt, from Kufa, from all parts of Arabia, spreading rumors and lies about Hazrat Osman. And those people, just like the hypocrites today, they were pretending to be the best people. They were pretending that they wanted to help the ummah. But in reality, they were the worst people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying about people like that in the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. When it is said to them, do not make corruption in the earth, they say, we are only peacemakers. Truly, they are the corrupt ones, but they are unaware. And finally, they made a conspiracy, pretending to go on Hajj, but in reality, they attacked Medina. And they surrounded the house of Hazrat Osman, saying that they would not leave until he stepped down. But he obeyed that prediction that Holy Prophet had made years before, and he did not give up from the Khilafat. Hazrat Osman tried so hard to make peace, but the hypocrites did not want peace. They wanted to destroy Islam. And for 40 days, they cut the water supply from Hazrat Osman. They cut the water supply from the one who gave them water when they migrated to Medina. And Hazrat Osman was keeping fast for 40 days. Finally, one night, he saw a dream. Finally, one night, he saw a dream that Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying to him, Ya Osman, tonight you will make iftar with us. And Hazrat Osman went to the guards at the door and he said, don't kill anyone on my behalf. And that day, the hypocrites, they entered Hazrat Osman's house through his window. And with complete cruelty, they martyred one of the most beloved Sahabi of Holy Prophet. And when Hazrat Osman was martyred, he was reading the Quran. And when his blood was spilled, it fell on the ayat. And that ayat says, so if they believe the way that you believe, then they are rightly guided. But if they turn away, then they are only in opposition. So Allah will be enough for you against them. And He is the all-hearer, the all-knower. And these hypocrites were so cruel, they were so heartless, that they refused to let Hazrat Osman be buried for 3 days. Until finally he was secretly buried by Hazrat Ali, Hazrat Hassan and Hazrat Hussein. So Hazrat Osman, he was so generous with his life. He gave his life for the sake of Allah. He sacrificed his life in the way of the Holy Prophet. Perhaps we don't have so much wealth that we can give, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us the breath of life. And that life does not even belong to us. And we should return it back to Allah. That is the generosity of Hazrat Osman al-Ghani. And the night Hazrat Osman was martyred, Hazrat Hassan radiallahu an had a dream. He said, he saw the Rasulullah ﷺ in his dream standing by the arsh, by the throne of Allah. The Prophet looked worried, and Hassan said, this was the first time I've seen the Prophet looking worried in my dream. Abu Bakr then came behind the Prophet and placed his hand on the shoulder of the Prophet. Omar also came and placed his hand on the shoulder of Abu Bakr. Shortly after this, Hazrat Osman came with his face full of blood, and his head was in his hand. Osman said, Ya Rasulullah, for what sin? For what sin did they butcher me like a cow? Hazrat Hassan narrated that after Osman said this, Hazrat Hassan narrated that after Osman said this, the throne of Allah started to shake. And 2 streams of blood came down from the throne of Allah. A voice also came out from the unseen saying, until today, no believer has taken the life of a believer. After today, until the day of judgment, believers will be taking the lives of other believers. O believers, this is a time of great fitna. This is a time of great confusion. That confusion that started in the time of Hazrat Osman is continuing today. That fitna, it is affecting believers and unbelievers. That fitna, it has entered inside of the tariqats. we should stay away from fitna. O believers, O murids, we are awaiting the one who will clean up this fitna, Hazrat Mahdi alayhi salam. Follow the advice of Sahib al-Saif, who said, we must wake up to our own selves. We are passing every single day step by step, going ahead. Before the appearance of Mahdi alayhi salam, we must complete, we must prepare. The Naqshbandi Haqqanis must prepare themselves to that work that Mahdi alayhi salam is coming to build, to do. And these are the ways. Through sohbat we may learn. O believers, remain in sohbat. Remain in the association. Inshallah, we will be safe from fitna and we will remain clean. Ameen. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah.